Well, hello everyone and welcome to Cable 14's Generation Z. I'm your host Amanda Pope, and thank you so much for tuning in today. I know over the past couple of episodes, we've learned a lot about how to successfully start and grow your business. And I really hope that you've learned a lot from the youth entrepreneurs that we've had come in and all of the business experts sharing their incredible advice on growing their businesses and growing your businesses too. So far we've talked about the first 4 keys to successfully starting your business. We've talked about discovering your authentic purpose, making smart choices. We've also talked about what makes you special, and finally getting the word out and making sure you know how to set up your advertising and marketing plan. And I really hope that you've seen a lot of progress. And before we go on to the 5th topic, I wanted to share this one quote, and it says, "To never compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. And I really thought that was great for today's 5th key to successfully starting your business, which is the importance of goal setting to achieve success for your business. So today we have a number of guests that are going to be sharing their stories on achieving success and the importance of goal setting. And before we get to those guests, we're here right now with the founder of Big Shot, Nick Ciaglia, and he is going to be talking about the importance of goal setting. So thank you so much, Nick, for joining us today. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. So it's incredible how at such a young age you have managed to start your own business, Big Shot. And why don't you start off by just telling us about your business?
Okay, well, Big Shot is ultimately a videography service, or sport videography service, for young athletes of all levels. So we range from elementary, high school, and even go as far as the collegiate level. And ultimately, I do videos for them, and it gives them exposure and allows them to further their goals and their dreams through sports.
And you've mentioned to further their goals and dreams in sports, and that's also right with business owners as well. And as a startup business owner, I wanted to ask you, why do you think it's important for entrepreneurs to set goals as well?
I think it's extremely important for entrepreneurs to set goals because without goals, there's no direction. And I think as a business, and when you run your own business, if you don't have a direction you're heading in, you're ultimately going nowhere. And to expand on that, by setting goals, you allow yourself to not only pave a path for success, but pave a long-term path.
Yes, and that's a really good point, is a long-term path. And I think that as entrepreneurs, we need to keep that in mind, is to have a vision of the future. So I wanted to talk about maybe a goal-setting process. So what type of process do you think youth entrepreneurs or any entrepreneur needs to go through when they're starting their business?
I think one of the main goal-setting processes is to start somewhere. And to start somewhere, I mean start realistic, because if your goal isn't realistic, essentially it won't be achieved. And I think a lot of people out there, they see everything and it's like, oh, like my first business, I want to make $1 million. I want to buy a nice car, when in reality it should be to get your first client or to have a first phone call. And I think those little steps ultimately lead up to the end goal.
Yes, and that's a good point about having realistic goals, because I know for myself, when I started as a youth entrepreneur when it was in 2014, so I was probably about 15 years old, I had all these incredible goals and all these incredible visions, and yes, that's great, but it's important to make sure that when you're starting out, you can be realistic with yourself. So my next question for you then is, how can we avoid setting ourselves up for disappointment and failure with realistic versus unrealistic goals?
Good question. Well, I think first off, by setting a realistic goal, you kind of ask yourself, what's a realistic goal? Well, for someone like myself, my realistic goal was to get my first client when I started. So I did a lot of advertising and marketing around social media, and a couple of weeks later, I had my first client. And I think that helped me pave the way for the future clients that I had, because if I had said, I want 5 clients as soon as I open up, it wouldn't be realistic, and essentially I'd be like, well, it didn't work out, then maybe this isn't the business, maybe it isn't successful, maybe it isn't sustainable, and the longevity just isn't there. But I think by setting the little goals, like I mentioned earlier, allows the bigger goals to essentially fill the gap and give you that long-term success.
That's a great, great answer. And I think it's inspiring too, because I know a lot of people when they start a business, they just have this plan for themselves and they have all these goals and they're like, I'm going to have 5 clients within a week or 5 clients within the first month. And then when that doesn't happen, they become disappointed, they start to doubt themselves, and then that's when they just give up. So I think it's important to have those realistic goals. And you mentioned as well that you've seen quite a bit of success so far with your business. So why don't we talk about that success? And congratulations, number one, but why don't you talk about the success that you've seen in your business so far because of the proper goal setting processes?
I've definitely seen success in multiple areas through my goal setting processes. One of the main ones being my social media presence. So I started my page at around 0 followers, 0 everything, and 3 months later I now have over 2,000 followers on social media, and that number seems to be growing every day. And I think the goal that I set for myself was ultimately to create videos and create content that people want to watch and people want to see. And one more goal that I actually had was a sales amount, and was to reach a certain dollar value, and I actually just passed that yesterday, which was a great, yeah, thank you. But overall, I think it's just important that you set those goals, and if once you're able to meet them, you keep moving forward. Because,
awesome.
Yeah.
It's important, right? And that's what'll get you places so that you can achieve your goals, is to have that plan. So thank you so much for taking the time to come out on our show today on Generation Z. We really appreciate your advice, and I know everyone at home too will appreciate the advice on goal setting. So thank you, Nick. Awesome. And we will have a board come up, and that will have all of Nick Ciaglia's contact information. You can reach him at his email, which is bigshotinfo1@gmail.com. And you can also take a look on his website if you're interested in his services, or if you just have any questions in general about being a youth entrepreneur and starting up your own business. So I want you to stay tuned, because after the break, we are going to have an incredible example of what a successful entrepreneur looks like, and one that takes care of himself too. So stay tuned.